As the family gathers together in a single room, the maid arrives, informing our princess that there was a visitor for her. A man appears at the door this time, with a long beard and wide smile. He takes off his hat, and bows his head, greeting everyone in the room for the first time and introducing himself as Floric, owner of the Eternal Shop in the royal capital. The appearance of this man would mark the beginning of the incident. Seeing him here, the Lord questions Floric on the reason why the second most famous shopkeeper in the royal capital would come here. But before answering the Lord's question, Floric snaps his finger, summoning the presence of numerous shiny presents everywhere behind him. This sudden action draws the Lord's attention as he questions the reason behind the enormous amount of presents. Suddenly, with a creepy smile on his face, Floric reveals that he had heard rumors about the powers of art, and that thought that it could be beneficial for business. The scene changes to Floric screaming out art's achievements by creating a bed, lemon water and a hot spring, calling those things revolutionary in the works of God. But the princess cuts in, stating that Art didn't plan on using his powers to make money, which Floric found a waste. But then Art decides to ask him about why he started his business in the first place. Floric reveals his sad past, telling everyone that his mother had gotten sick in the past, and a merchant had demanded a huge price for the medicine in order to heal her. They were so poor that they couldn't pay. In the end, Floric's mother had passed away without even complaining, telling him on her deathbed that he should do business for the sake of others. After telling his sad story, Floric turns to Art, begging him to use his powers for the sake of the world and its people by doing business together. But the Lord intervenes this time, wondering how much of the profit they would get and for Floric to state the rights in a concise manner. Hearing this question, Floric expected this from the former prime minister of the country and knew that a bad lie would result in his downfall, so he told the Lord that they would share the rights, each owning 50%. But the Lord was quick to dismiss his proposal, countering that they should receive 90% of the rights, which shocked Floric. Even the princess was concerned about the sharing rights ratio, but the Lord was fixated on his choice. In response, Floric took out a letter from his jacket. Upon seeing it, the Lord thought it was a threat, but Floric assures him that the letter has nothing to do with his family. Instead, it was a secret letter meant for Art's eyes only. Hearing that, the Lord, princess and Butler were all startled. Floric began his threat, telling everyone that he knew of Art's secret that a lady close to Art had told him about, which meant that if Art's secret leaked out, it would damage the Icefield family. But the Lord wasn't impressed at all by the sudden threat. Instead, he pulls out another letter and flexes it towards Floric, who couldn't believe that there was a second letter. Without hesitating, the Lord throws the letter to his feet and tells him to read it. Opening the letter and reading it, it states that Floric had paid someone a large amount of money to reveal all information about Art. It also states the truth about his background, that he was actually from a merchant family and that both his parents were retired. They also knew that he had obtained secrets about other people and used them to sway negotiations in his favor. After seeing that his lies had been exposed, Floric tells the Lord that they were actually lies instead. But it was useless. The Lord knew everything from the start, and had been baiting Floric from the beginning to see if he had any extra information. With a serious look on his face, the Lord was pissed off for the first time in a while, threatening to destroy Floric's entire clan, all because he tried to mess with their Art. The butler and the princess were impressed to see their Lord this way while Art was becoming teary-eyed for what the Lord was doing for him. As the Lord continued to scold Floric, Art's eyes were drawn to the letter on the ground, so he went and picked it up, opening and reading the contents that were inside of it. After being defeated, Floric ended up bowing his head while kneeling on the ground. He started to tell the truth to everyone. In honesty, he shared that he was drawn to Art's magic. So after a truthful discussion this time, Art and the family managed to end up getting a percentage of Floric's shop's profits. Using his riz, Art was glad to hear that Floric's mother was actually alive, as he knew that it would be sad if she was really dead. Seeing how sincere Art was being brought tears to Floric's eyes as he trembles before the strongest butler in history. But the Lord warns Art not to easily forgive those that have tried to wrong him. Even after hearing the Lord's words, Art still decides that it was all right. He grabs onto Floric's hands, telling everyone that it is only when people are treated kindly that they feel truly forgiven. With those words, the Floric commotion came to an end, or at least that's what it looked like on the surface. Now, the princess was shocked to learn that Art had read Floric's blackmail letter, which made Art decide that he was going to the royal capital now, so the princess decided to tag along. In the royal capital, our boy appears in front of a door, knowing that the only person who knew such information about him was a woman, including that handwriting. Only one person came to his mind. As he knocked on the door, a familiar voice was heard, asking who it was. Wenty appears, dressed in a nightgown with a painful expression on her face as she sees Art standing in front of her. Art looks at her with a slightly pained face, greeting her quietly as Wenty continues to stare in disbelief. They soon entered the room together. Wenty faced away from Art, who could only stare at her in silence. After some time, Wenty questions him on how he had managed to find her. Art reveals that the information came from Floric. So he questions her on whether the contents of the letter really came from her, but Wenty continues to deny it, shouting at Art that she didn't know about it at all. Wenty finally snaps, shouting and revealing to Art that ever since their last meeting, her life has been in ruins. Her family, the Rubedo family, had fallen, and now, even her own father was in prison. She blames it all on Art, turning around to tell him to get out of her sight, but after looking at our boy, who simply smiled back at her, Wenty became quiet upon seeing this. Turning around from Art once again, before asking him why he didn't understand that she hates him. But Art wonders if what she said was really true. She confirms it, saying that our boy was an eyesore. Art then questions her on why she gave the money she got from Floric to the information broker. Art had heard about how she had given away all 50,000 gold that she had received, and didn't even keep a single coin. Art further notices that she even kept the black dress that he had made for him specifically. Hearing all this, Wenty shouts at Art to leave at once, but Art simply replies to her that he was glad that she was alive. And reveals with sincere eyes that he didn't hold any grudge against her at all, bringing tears to her eyes. Art finally reveals the letter that he had gotten from Floric. The content inside wrote that regarding Art's investigation, who hails from the neighboring country of Aldred, his parents were slaves. As proof, a slave mark is engraved on his left shoulder. After reading this, Art knew who provided the information, as the only one who knew about this was Wenty, but he also realized that she had lied in certain parts. Art reveals that the scar on his left shoulder is not a slave mark but a burn from when he was a kid. A flashback is seen where Wenty throws a steaming hot cup of tea at Art, which lands on his left shoulder. Art had never once forgotten about that memory, but still, he chooses to forgive Wenty. As he was happy to know that at least, she still considered him as family. Returning to a past memory, where young Wenty declares to young Art the day that he becomes her butler, and also that he was her family from now on. Art's final words broke Wenty as she rushed in to hug our boy, apologizing to him repeatedly. With tears streaming down her face, she reveals to Art that she had always wanted to apologize for taking advantage of his kindness. With a hand on her shoulder, Art says sorry too, for not being there when she needed him, but this time, he wanted to support his cherished Lady Urk instead. Hearing those words, finally broke Wenty as she wails in sorrow, crying her tears out as Lady Urk stood by the door, listening to their conversation the entire time.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.